Today's video features a paid partnership with BetterHelp. Oh, look at this littlest face. Yes, oh my god, I love him so much. Well, hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So, we're talking about money. We haven't talked about money for a while, have we? I know you like me talking about money, let's get into it. So, sitting on my desk are some quite adorable little woven baskets with a collection of washi tape in them. You see, when I first entered the world of glorified productivity, my social media feeds were frequently bombarded with aesthetic displays of productivity, from highly decorated bullet journal pages to elaborate monthly spreads documenting one's mood or finances or reading or professional progress. To be productive was to have immaculately designed bullet journals, a pencil case full of pastel-coloured highlighter pens with translucent sticky tabs, and washi tape and stickers were pretty much always part of the equation. Now, it has been 4 years since I last purchased a single washi tape, and I can say, hand on heart, that I've never finished a single one, and there are several that I have never ever used. And I can also confidently say that it didn't make me more productive. You see, when I made my aesthetic stationery choices more than 4 years ago now, I did so under the naive belief that buying items related to my ideal self-image, i.e. a productive, hard-working, studious and financially successful academic, would bring me closer to actualising that self-image. And spoiler alert, I'm far from it. Mindless spending, whether on stationery or games, apps, Stanley cups, shoes, items that you saw advertised on Instagram or TikTok or another book, is motivated by our unconscious lack of self. You see, when we buy mindlessly, we do so to escape into a fantasy of an idealised self-image that we have for ourselves. You know, the person that we want to be known for and seen as, and ultimately be. So we invest money into our dream future self, the one who will work out daily and drink water from this particular bottle, or look or act a certain way and have skills and knowledge beyond comprehension. But then, when the item arrives, there's a dissonance between who we are, the recipient of the item, and who we actually bought it for, the dream self. When we paid for it, we were under the illusion that we were buying it for ourselves, but when it arrived, we are confronted with our intrinsic sense of lack, the motivating force that drove us to buy it in the first place. And that feeling of lack hasn't mysteriously gone away as we thought it would, nor have we become the person we hoped we would be when we received it. We have the item, but we are no different. We are no closer than being the person we bought it for. So helpless, we try again and again, not consciously but unconsciously. When depressively doom scrolling on our phones, trying to numb ourselves from that brutal sense of worthlessness and existential dread, we suddenly come across a book, or a gadget, or an accessory, or some kind of fashionable item and mentally cry out, "Eureka! The cure to all my pain! The missing piece to that will finally make me me, the thing that will help me reach my fullest potential." And so we buy it, and then we buy something else to add to that, and then we buy something else because we find out that wasn't the answer. But thankfully, our lack of self-identity is aided by digital keychains memorising our credit card details, and we know our security codes for each of our cards by heart, making the process of self-actualisation as smooth as possible. But what if we lived in a world where we were taught from a young age that the things we wear, or do, or achieve, or own don't constitute anything towards our sense of self, and that the process of self-actualization is achieved through mindfulness and creativity and building relationships with other people rather than the attainment of material goods? Well, if we lived in that world, you wouldn't have a Stanley Cup on your desk, and I wouldn't have had those baskets of washi tape, and we'd probably all be much happier. Today's video features a paid partnership with BetterHelp. So I've been using BetterHelp for coming up to 3 years now. That's a long time for me to use the service, and it's genuinely changed my life. That's why I love working with BetterHelp, because genuinely it is so important. It's such an important part of my weekly routine, is having my hour session with my therapist, and I cannot express enough how important that time of my week every week is. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy accessible, and even when you finally get the confidence to go and find a therapist, finding a good therapist can be really hard. But BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding it so easy. You don't have to search for hours through the internet or travel back and forth. It's entirely online and remote, and you can be matched with a credentialed therapist in as little as a few days after filling out a simple questionnaire. They match you based on your needs and the type of therapist you'd like. It's just like dating, do you want a Christian therapist or do you want an atheistic therapist, or do you want a man or a woman? It's so easy to match a therapist to your needs and your speciality and your preferences. And similarly, if you don't meet the right therapist at the right time, you can switch to a new therapist at no extra cost, or if you need a different therapist for a different reason, again, you can swap at no extra cost. So whether you are suffering from depression or anxiety or just going through a really difficult stage in your life, therapy can give you the tools that you need to approach it in a whole different way. It's really easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There is a link in the description box below. It is betterhelp.com/Cinzia DuBois. Clicking that link helps support this channel, but also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. So when trying to break the spending cycle of mindless spending, obviously, we have two distinct problems that we need to address. The first is our lack of sense or completeness or self-image, or rather, one that is detached from material goods and external markers. We haven't got that. The second is the addictive compulsion to shop and the habits which lead to it. So the first thing is too great a problem to address in a small video such as this. I will address it over multiple videos, so make sure you subscribe. But for this video, I can focus on the second problem, which is practical measures to stop the impulse shopping. After all, one does not just simply get rid of all body image issues and solve all relationships with food before they ever go to a gym and try to lose weight or see a dietitian. You see, usually the first steps to overcoming these issues is taking practical changes to work to mitigate or slow down the damage during the long, arduous process of unravelling and dealing with the psychological barriers holding one back or sabotaging a person's success. So, the practical steps in the first stages of breaking the spending cycle involve the following. 1. Remove your susceptibility to marketing. Okay, so marketing is almost impossible to avoid. Though I don't use the platform myself, I have heard many a person say that TikTok has become nothing more than a glorified shopping channel with millions of micro adverts. And then in the days I used Instagram, I would see adverts pop up on my screen probably every 15 seconds, probably less if we're being honest. So removing yourself from marketing ploys is achievable, but requires sacrifice, which is why so few people do it. Unsubscribing from certain companies' emails newsletters is really easy, but people don't want to leave social media. Only you know where you're most susceptible, where you click the most, basically. If email marketing is your weakness, unsubscribe from the companies that you shop most frequently at. If you're someone who buys a lot from influencers or adverts that you see on social media, consider your options, such as firstly, unfollowing certain influencers whom you always seem to try and emulate, either aesthetically or with their lifestyle. Additionally, you may want to consider unfollowing certain companies that may advertise their sales on social media, or limit your social media use entirely. Or if you know you are so susceptible to persuasion, you may want to consider leaving the platforms for a while or permanently. 2. Forget your credit card details. Okay, no, I don't mean actually forget your credit card details, but deleting the information from your password keychain is safer, not only in terms of personal data, but also for your wallet. Having a physical delay when purchasing an item by having to get up from your computer or get up from your seat, wander around your home, find your wallet, remove your card, start typing in the card details, that delay will give you pause for thought before you actually make the purchase and ask yourself, do I really need to be doing this? Additionally, I would suggest asking your password keychains to forget passwords for other payment method sites such as PayPal or Shop, because that also will delay the process. Another thing I would recommend is always waiting 24 hours before making any purchase. See, the easiest way to stop mindless shopping is by giving yourself a 24-hour rule. Before you click pay, you must wait 24 hours. You see, when I started my no-buy challenge, I had a system where I would add items that I wanted to a basket and then abandon it. Obviously online, not in the shop, that'd be really rude, but I would close the tab, move away, and then within a day, I would inevitably receive that "you've left something behind" email from the company. And that really irked me because I could see how manipulative that was, and it just deterred me from wanting to complete the purchase out of spite. Seriously, You can get motivated so much out of spite. And also, I never really wanted it 24 hours later. Now, unless you're buying a ticket for Taylor Swift concert, the items that you want to buy are not going to vanish from the face of the earth within 24-hour window. And that time frame will allow you to decipher whether or not the items in your basket are something you really need or you just fancied buying in the moment. The 24-hour window is even more impactful if you're shopping for things in person, because the impulse to shop when you're with your friends or in a store with the peer pressuring eyes of the store clerk on your back can make you buy something without a second thought. But leaving the shop empty-handed is an empowering experience, and it becomes somewhat addictive. Now, speaking of store clerks, the next one is to stop buying out of politeness and learn to say no. Okay, so whilst the British are notorious for saying yes out of politeness, almost everyone has been in a situation where they have purchased something just to be polite. So whether you were browsing a stall at a local market or exploring an independent shop, the social pressure to buy something so as to not offend or upset the seller is one of the most ridiculous yet common reasons people will impulse buy or spend more money than they intended. Now, being an independent seller or shop owner is such hard work, and many of us are sympathetic to the plight, and they fear breaking the hearts by staring down the products dead in the face and then walking away, leaving the struggling seller downtrodden for not making a sale. But then there are some of us who are so afraid of even entering a shop and leaving empty-handed for fear of being, perceived as being a shoplifter, that you will buy something completely pointless just to give ourselves permission to leave the shop. I've done it, I've been there, I know exactly how you feel. And learning to say no and walk away without parting with your cash or feeling guilty is one of the most rewarding parts of breaking the consumerism cycle. Supporting local businesses and independent sellers is so important, but you can extend your support during periods where you're expected to buy something, such as Christmas or birthdays, or by promoting them on social media, or by recommending them to your friends and family. Walking away without buying something doesn't make you a bad person. You're not taunting or teasing or insulting sellers by briefly browsing and then not buying. The economy is tough, but you're not a superhero who's expected to rescue all independent businesses from collapse. Especially with your limited financial resources, you are not Jeff Bezos. The next thing I'd recommend is sharing your purchase plans with an accountability buddy. So we all have a friend or a family member who will always want the best for us, and those people are the perfect accountability buddies. So if you're trying to break your impulse buying habit, tell your most trusted loved ones about your plans to stop shopping and ask them for their support and help at your times of weakness, as I should say. So when you come across an item that you want to buy, share a screenshot of it with your accountability buddy or send them a link to it. And a good accountability buddy will remind you of your goals and then ask if you really need it. Ask why you want to buy it, and they'll try to persuade you otherwise. Now, this may sound like a lot of work for your accountability buddy. Obviously tell them that this is what you plan to do whilst they are on board, but from my experience, you will rarely use them. And this, I have found, is primarily because of embarrassment. It is really embarrassing to keep disclosing to other people the random items that you want to buy for yourself late at night. And the idea of having to send a link to this or a screenshot of it to another person is of itself a deterrent. You never get to the stage you're like, oh, do I really want to send them that? I won't send them that, and you don't buy it. Having an accountability buddy in general serves as a fantastic filter between you and all your purchases, as well as giving you a valuable second opinion on the items that you want to spend your money on that you may never have thought about. So final thoughts. Overcoming the psychological issues that motivate us to impulse buy or overspend is a long and grueling process that usually requires a professional help or guidance on it. But in the interim, it's important to take practical steps to financially protect yourself by putting up physical barriers, such as the ones I've just recommended. Now, it's important to stress that these practical solutions are merely bandages for much deeper wounds. They won't cure your desire to impulse shop or buy when you're feeling sad or anxious or depressed or lonely, but they can help you save some money whilst you take the time to extend loving kindness to yourself and address your deeper relationship with materialism, money, and self-worth. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing to this channel. And also, if you have any similar requests for similar videos, there is a little Google form in the description box below. You can send your request in there. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please let me know. And I'll see you soon for another video. And remember, books save lives, so keep reading.